All right, time to roll down to Atlanta and visit the crib of Richard Seymour, Patriots Hall of Famer, future NFL Hall of Famer, three-time Super Bowl champion, member of the All-Decade team, and maybe most impressive, $643,000 in career earnings at poker, according to our research. A professional poker player dabbling in the side. For Richard. All right. Anytime you make that much money, it's professional.
But I just enjoy the game. I'll say that.
Perfect. Hey, let's start with your former teammate Tom Brady and the Patriot Way, which you experienced. Were you as surprised at all, or did you assume eventually Tom Brady would play in a different uniform than the New England Patriots?
Yeah, I'd personally say it was unexpected. But we know it's the National Football League, and, you always hear the term expected, unexpected. But when you think about Tom and everything that he's brought to the table and 6 Super Bowls and, probably go down as, the greatest of all time at that position, I would say it was a little unexpected. I thought they would, figure things out. But, I think also Tom has earned the right to, test the waters and see what's out there in terms of other teams and how other organizations and cultures are ran. So, but it is what it is.
Couple of weeks ago, we had on your former teammate and Hall of Famer Ty Law, and we asked him, Ty, who you going to root for this season more, Tom Brady or the New England Patriots? We'll ask you the same question. Who you going to root for the most, Brady or the Patriots?
I'll say this, I've always been a players guy. I don't follow a whole lot of franchises or universities. I'm always with the players. But, and Tom's been a friend for, 20 plus years. So I'm always rooting for him, and everything that he does is, tremendous player and person off the field as well. But, at the same time, New England's the team that drafted me and gave me an opportunity in the National Football League. So, they'll always be near and dear to my heart as well.
Now, Seymour, is the Patriot Way really just Bill Belichick's way? And I ask that because his disciples, everywhere they go, it seems like they struggle implementing that culture. Well,
I'll say this, Coach Belichick has 50 plus years of experience. So, I don't care if you've been on his staff, it's hard to try to take that and implement it anywhere else. I think, that's definitely going to be difficult to do. He's, coached some of the greats, Lawrence Taylor on down the line, but just in terms of them not succeeding, it's just one of those things where, Belichick is Belichick, and he's an all-time great, probably one of the greatest to ever do it. And, it's just a difficult task even if you're on that team, in the personnels and watching them, it's hard to go out and implement. I'll say it like this, everybody was saying the 300 Chryslers were just like the Rolls Royces until you pull up beside the Rolls Royce. It's totally different. So,
man. Damn, Charlie Weiss is a 300 Chrysler. We got it.
Hey, Seymour, you ain't right. Look, hey, you talking to a guy who used to have one of those Phantoms, the Rolls Royce, and boy, I used to think the same way. Like, that ain't the same, but go ahead. I wish I had your sticker price. With that said, man, Tom Brady, how important was he to establishing that culture?
Tom's a champion. I'll say that. He's a champion. He's a competitor. He came in with a chip on his shoulder, and as we saw, he's carried that throughout his entire career. And I think every player, if you want to succeed, you're always finding a way. You look at the Jordan doc, The Last Dance, he's always building up, just mental and mind games to go out and be the best, and whatever that takes, texting guys in the off season and throwing with guys, whatever it took. He was a professional. And I will say, he's a big part. And I look at our teams, when you talk about even with Ty Law being on the show, and like those teams were kind of different. They were more defensive-led teams. Myself, Teddy Bruschi, McGinnis, Brable, Harrison. So the teams were totally different in 01 when we beat the Rams to maybe 04. And then it started to switch into more of an offensive team when we brought in Randy Moss and Wes Welker and, putting up a lot of points. But it was more defensive-led early on. And, I think throughout the decade, it switched over.
Now, let's have some fun with you and your career, man. Amazing, obviously, man. But if you could go back to your rookie year, 15 years in the league and tons of money, tons of Pro Bowls, you're still going to be Richard Seymour. Would you have chosen to play for a looser culture than the Patriots or have it the way it went?
I'll say this. I think I learned a lot over the many years being under Coach Belichick. I think he's, one of the brightest minds, not just in sports, but just in general. Like if you were a boxer, like you would want him in your corner because he's so he breaks down every piece of detail. So I just think as a player, I want the best advice. Like I don't need to be motivated to play, but I think I need a coach that's going to put me in the right positions, that's going to break down game plans so I know what to expect and what's coming. And he definitely did that. But, you hear it all the time. Like you leave this game with, money and memories. And, we won a lot and we got paid. And at the end of the day, I think the team that we had being such a veteran team, we found a way to keep it fun, keep it light. And I think anytime you do anything, when you're having a good time doing it, you're having fun, you go out and play your best, and we did that.
Well, you have a good attitude about Belichick and the Patriots, but in 2009, was that the case? And if not, how long did it take you to move on from those feelings in 2009?
Right. I'll say this, obviously being traded right before the season, it was a shock at the moment, but we go back to it's a business as well. And it happened maybe 4 or 5 days before the season. I got traded to Oakland. And when I was on the phone with Al Davis and he was telling me, he was like, "Hey, Richard, we got the highest paid punter in the league. We got the highest paid cornerback in the league, and we've got a young team. We traded for you so you can come in and help, change the culture and what we're trying to do." So I'll say this, dealing with my family, my kids were young and in school and that sort of thing. So took me about a week just to get the family settled. And I told Al Davis, the late great Al Davis, I was going to come out there and give him everything that I had. So, he held up his end of the bargain and I tried to fulfill my end as well.
All right, Patriots Hall of Fame, great honor, congratulations. Pro Football Hall of Fame, you've been a finalist twice. Are you confident that, and I certainly feel you deserve it, but are you confident you'll make it into Canton?
Well, I'll say this. I think it's been a process. And, it's all everybody who's come up into the finalists and semifinalists, all of the guys are very deserving. And I just think personally, every year I've gotten closer. Like I made the final 15 the year before. And then this year, I was told I was in the room. And, obviously they only select 5, but I got down to the final 10. Like I say this, my work is done. I'll leave it up to the voters. I definitely think I'm worthy. But at the end of the day, in due time. I had to wait on my red jacket, so I don't mind waiting on the gold jacket as well.
Listen, you had 57.5 sacks during your career, but you played a different style of defensive end and defensive tackle. So much of defensive linemen seem to be evaluated by sacks rather than were they a complete player. Does it bother you that they've reduced it to sacks?
Well, I'll say this. I've always been a guy that thought about it's a difference between stats and impact, right? Like, you don't even have to, just in terms of a defensive player, like, you don't really have to have a lot of tackles or sacks in the game to really free up linebackers to make plays, have the offense run away from you, demand double teams and, just things like that. I mean, that's all a part of it as well. But you just want to go out and be, as a defensive lineman, you want to be physical. You want to be nasty. I mean, your guy beside you right there, he know a lot about that. I always admire his career as well. So was always an animal out there. I see it. I can dig it.
My dog. Respect, brother.
Richard, thank you so much. We'll have you back on hopefully really soon when you're made the Hall of Fame, and we'll congratulate you on that. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.